So as I grew up, I had these two colliding, conflicting forces within me. I had this demon yelling at me, telling me these terrible things, just torturing me. And then I had Jesus. The Holy Spirit was within me from the time I was a little kid. And so I had this ever present tension that I was always, in the middle of, and so it was very confusing. It was made my childhood very difficult. And so I always had these swings, as I was growing up, the times that I would seek Jesus and I would really try hard to work on my relationship with Jesus and to get into Jesus. It felt so wonderful. There was so much joy and sweetness. It felt like coming home. I never doubted God's existence or Jesus. I always knew that God knew me. I always knew that Jesus knew me and loved me, even during all the years that I was rebelling and running away from him later in my life. And so I always could sense God's presence if I looked for him. He was always there. So, but then as I entered into my angsty teenage years, and this is what happens to a lot of people, that's when I really started struggling with self-esteem issues and self-consciousness, as I was getting older, a teenager. And that demon just hit me with everything that she could. And so I struggled. I fell into terrible depression during this time, suicidal thoughts. I started cutting myself. I struggled with anorexia during this time, and the abuse that I was experiencing from my mother played a huge part in this as well, because she would tell me the same things that my demon was telling me. So at this time, I was a young teenager. I was struggling with my self-esteem. And here she was telling me, you're stupid. Nobody's ever going to love you. She would tell me things like, you're too fat to tuck your shirts in. One time she told me, oh, some girls are pretty enough not to wear makeup, but not you. Who tells their young teenage girl these things? Anyway, it was terrible. It was devastating to me when I was that young. I was a shy, awkward teenager. I had big, thick glasses. I had braces. I didn't have any friends because we moved all the time. I was bullied. Kids are so mean. I was bullied. I was picked on. One place we moved to, these kids threw rocks at me all the time. It was just terrible. I was really, really unhappy as a kid. So anyway, let me show you some pictures. I'm going to show you some pictures tonight. So here is me as whoops, that's not me. That's not me. There's me as a baby. I was a fat baby. I really was fat when I was a baby. I will give you that. But then when I got older, I was not fat anymore. I was never some of the things that my mother told me. But anyway, here's me about 4 or 5 years old, pretty young. And when I look at this picture, I think you can see that I was tormented. I think you can. I was a really, really sad kid. It was just not a happy childhood. So this is me. There's my family. There's me when I was about, I'm probably 14 or 15 years old. You can see I've got my braces. And there's my mom and my dad and my little brother. And so that was around 14 or 15 years old. I learned to smile for the camera. But when I look at these old pictures of myself, I can see in my eyes just that I was a tormented child. Okay, now here's I told you guys I was going to show you some big hair pictures. So, thank you, beloved of JC says, troubled but cute. Thank you. I appreciate that. So, but anyway, I told you I was going to show you guys some of my big hair pictures. So here's one of them. So look at that big old hair. Look at that 1980s outfit that I'm wearing there. I've got my big, big hair. I was a little bit punk. And so I had my ear was pierced like 7 times. You can see the earrings there. And I even shaved one side of my head for a while. And I'm wearing that, remember those ties that the girls used to wear and the jackets with the big shoulders. So I wore all that stuff there. And there's my little brother who is now taller than me and my mom and my dad. And so here is me. You want to see some even bigger hair? There's my high school graduation picture. Oh my goodness. Yeah, BC, we were talking before the show about all of the styles that we used to wear back in the 80s. And Heidi was talking. Yeah, we had the biggest shoulder pads. Oh my goodness. And big old hair. That's a lot of Aquanet right there. Hairspray, guys. And yeah, hours of curling irons. And oh my goodness, I'm so glad I don't have to do that anymore. And so that's high school. this is me right after high school. So I'll be telling you about this in a minute, but I started going to community college. And so that's me from that time period. So, yeah, totally, totally gnarly, dude. Oh, Heidi, love your hair. Thank you. I would like to see some pictures of you, Heidi, from that time period too. We should have an 80s night. Okay, so back to my story. I'm gonna show you some more pictures a little bit later. So yeah, that was me in high school. I was depressed. I flung myself headlong into rebellion at this point because I wanted desperately to have friends. I was so desperate for approval. And so I started getting involved in the things that kids who are like that do. So I started, trying to experiment with drugs, with smoking cigarettes, drinking alcohol, that kind of thing, messing around with boys, doing making all kinds of stupid decisions because I was so starved for approval, for love, because I was just being abused. And my demon was loving this stuff. I mean, she was just having a party in my life because I was just a mess.